Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Novelists Unwind. I'm Johnnie Alexander. I'm really glad to have you with us today. And our special guest is Melody Carlson, who is joining us all the way from Oregon. So we really had to, check out our times. I wanted to make sure are you on Pacific time and my Central time that we were, that we meshed, and we didn't mess that up. So thank you for being with us. So glad to have you. Melody is celebrating the release of her newest book, A Christmas by the Sea. It comes out in just a couple weeks. So she's going to show us that book and tell us a little bit about it and a little bit about her writing experiences. Melody, thank you so much for being with me this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Show us the cover of your book.
Okay, here it is. Can you see it?
Yeah. Can you raise that just a little bit higher? Yeah, A Christmas by the Sea. Tell us about it, the inspiration for that, and and I read a little bit about it. I love the story about a widow. She's trying to raise her son all by herself and trying to make some decisions about what to do. So tell us what inspired you to write this particular story.
Well, interestingly enough, it was almost the seaside thing that inspired me to start with. You might know that I think this is about my 20th Christmas novella, and people are like, "How do you keep coming up with?" But we used to have a little cabin on the Oregon beach, and we spent just restoring it and doing all sorts of things. And finally, one year we ended up, because of things that were going on where we live, we spent Christmas there. And the same week that we were there for Christmas, which is also my husband's birthday, we found, we were always looking for sand dollars on the beach. And we found literally hundreds, like hundreds of them in 2 days. And so we had this Christmas tree there, and I decided to decorate it with sand dollars, and I made these sand dollar angels, which I wish I'd thought to bring one in here to show you. But anyway, it was such a beautiful tree, and that image was sort of always in my mind. And I always thought, one of these Christmas books, I'm going to have to sort of pull that in. And so I started crafting this story of this woman and her son, and they go and they restore this old little cottage on the other coast, on the Maine coast, on the east, and to decorate her tree. And this is just a small part of the story, but to decorate the tree, this happens. They find all these sand dollars, she and her son, and then she makes ornaments, and the ornaments end up, I don't want to give too much away.
No spoilers.
To the story, but they sort of end up being a really critical part of what happens next.
Oh, wow. I really love that, though, how you take something that happened to you and then weave it into a story with, like you're creating someone else's whole life, and yet it's so important to them as well. That's really cool.
It makes it feel real.
Mm-hmm.
I've been said to write fiction that's true to life. And so I guess there always is slices of probably my life and other people's lives, my stories.
So why did you decide to set this particular story in Maine, on that coast, instead of
That's a question, yeah. I think I set so many of my books in Oregon that I get worried that I'm like alienating, the rest of the country. That's really an out of the way, kind of a pretty different sort of place if you live here. But I just thought, and I wrote a series for Guidepost, part of the series, and it was all set in Maine on the coast. So I had the sort of fresh on my mind, and its coastline is very similar to ours in ways, in places.
Oh, is it really? Wow.
Yeah, I thought that would work, and yeah.
Oh, that's really cool to know, because I've never been that far west, and I've lived in Florida, so I've been on that, the southern coast, but not that far north either, up in New England, though I am going on a cruise at the end of September, and
oh, nice.
And stopping in Bar Harbor and Portland. Yeah, really looking forward to that. Yeah, that'll be cool. So Melody has written, she said, like around 20 Christmas novellas. She's also written over 200 books totally. Like, it just blows my mind that, when people reach those high numbers. I'm such a slow writer, to think about writing that many books is just incredible to me. And she received the Romantic Times Career Achievement Award. So I think that is just kudos to you for that. That must have been a great thing to get.
Yeah, that was pretty special. It makes you feel like, okay, now it's time to quit writing. No. Uh, Early on in my career, I won it was called a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Librarians, National Librarians
Oh, wow.
Association. Yeah, that was pretty cool too. But at that point in time, I'd only written 100 books. I guess.
That's amazing. Are you just a fast writer, or you just have so many ideas? And I mean, how do you do that many? How
It's
many
a
books do you write a year? Do you think?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. When I first started writing, it was a really busy time. I had two boys that were, kind of in those middle years, and I was actually running a preschool daycare center out of our
Oh,
home.
wow.
Yeah, a different place, and my husband had built this space for it, and then I was also involved in PTA and all sorts of things when I decided that I wanted to start writing. So I literally took a legal yellow pad, and while the children were napping in the daycare center, I started writing a book, and I had to write really fast.
Yeah.
And then I got my first typewriter that was a little electronic strip with a little bit of memory
Yes.
before computers. And so I started on that, and then and I still had very limited time, so I just went as fast as I could. And by the time I got my first computer, I'd written a couple of books, and then those were those old funky computers where everything F key this and that, and I can't even remember how it worked.
All the DOS stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I wrote about, I don't even know, about 8 books on that. I just kept whipping them out, but I kept getting rejected because I was writing primarily fiction. I'm especially in the Christian market, they really didn't care much for fiction unless your name was Jeanette Oak.
Right. Yeah.
And but as fast as they would reject them, I'd just write another one.
Oh my gosh.
So I learned to write really fast, and then as computers got better and researching got better and all of that, it just was easier. And I guess the more I did it, easier it came to me. And I kind of do that about life. I do a lot of things fast, whether it's cooking dinner or making something. I mean, people, they get mad at me for going. Even when I was employed, I would always do stuff faster than they kind of wanted you to, because yeah.
I love that. You just must have a lot of energy, and that's really great.
But then when I slow down, I really slow down.
Dreams. Do you so what was the first book that got published? What was sort of your break? How did that happen?
Well, ironically, as some of my fictions were getting closer, and then I had one an editor, actually the one who's done all of my Christmas books. Her name's Lonnie. I'll just go ahead and say her name. She really believed in me, and at the time she was working for Thomas Nelson, and finally she took all my books to committee, and she really tried, and finally she said, we're just not doing fiction, and she said, could you write a nonfiction book? And I was like, I'll do whatever it takes.
Right.
And she said, yeah, if we could get your foot in the door. So I wrote a book. It was a how-to book on how to have a child care group home daycare center in your home. Everything you need to do. One of the longest titles. The title covered the whole front book. They published it. And then after that, other doors just started opening. I think Bethany was the next house that I published with. And then I actually went to work for a publisher for about 3 years just to learn more about publishing. So I felt like I almost got my full education in publishing there. And then by then my books were really taking off, and they took over. So it was time to quit and go out on my own.
Oh, what an interesting thing to do, though. I don't know that I've ever talked to a writer that's done that, but that sounds like it would have been a really great experience.
It was. It just, because there were so many things, in those early days that I didn't get about publishing. I'd read all the books, and I'd go to things, and I just felt like I don't get it. And then after being there, oh man, I got my education. I won't go into all of it, but yes.
Wow. And you write both contemporary stories. This Christmas story is a contemporary story, correct?
Right. Although the story was set in World War II.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're writing historicals and contemporaries, and being able to do and children's books too, right?
Yeah, I hadn't really been doing children's books lately, or until just this year. We're doing some. In fact, she just sent me the illustrations today, which looked really good. So yeah, I'm kind of back into that again too. And then right now, I'm currently writing a historical series. It's the third book, and it's set just kind of in World War I. I had done a complete 4-book series set in World War II called the Mulligan Sisters, and just really enjoyed. I felt like I do like to learn, and I do like to research, and
Yeah.
so forces you to learn your history, much better than what I learned in school.
Right, right. I agree. I mean, this morning I was laughing because I'm writing a story and I'm Googling things like, what do you wear when you kayak? How do you get in and out of a kayak?
And we do kayak. I could tell you all about that.
Yeah, it's like I'm learning all these. I've never done it. I've canoed before, but never kayaked. So I'm learning all these things about kayaking.
Kayak is easier than canoeing. My husband and I we have our own kayaks because we used to have a canoe that we shared, and it drove me nuts because we wanted to go at different speeds and stuff, and then sometimes I'd actually get seasick in the canoe.
Really? Really?
Yeah. No, I think I must be a control freak. Well, duh. But so when I'm in my own kayak, I just, it's lovely.
Oh, it just did. It made me like, I want to go do this because it just looked so fun. And I was watching YouTube videos, and different things. But
It's really easy.
yeah,
It really,
like easy. So it's like, yeah, this would be a fun thing to do. So you're right. I mean, you just never know what you're going to come across when you start.
Yeah.
Story,
One of the fun historical series that I did was the Oregon Trail, because my ancestors did come across on the Oregon Trail, so I always had a fascination with that.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that was really fun research.
Oh, I would imagine. So have you lived in Oregon most of your life, all of your life then?
Yeah, I happened to have been born in San Francisco, which was a fluke because I'm like 5th generation Oregonian, maybe 6th. We're not even sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, Melody's got this really fun website, and I encourage you to go look at it, and you can find her pictures in her scrapbook and all these different things. But it's so cool because you live like near the Cascade Mountains, but you have this cute little writing studio that's separate from your house. So we teased before we started recording about showing a little bit of it. Can you show a little bit of your writing studio? But we also have some.
I'll try to show you the parts that I felt like I kind of just scrambled it because I'm trying to. But no, I'm happy to. You won't know what's different and what's not.
We won't. Okay. It's
right.
A lot of light. I'll tell you guys. She's got so much light coming in, which is, I love it. It's wonderful. So we were trying to decide. Where to actually
see now that.
So I look at all the books.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hard to see what I'm showing you, and I might be blinding you by the light. I'm not sure.
A little bit of light, but you can see the book.
I'll tip it down.
Yeah.
And then there's a little couch area over here.
Oh, how fun!
I don't know what you're really seeing, but
this is
the that I created over there.
Separate from your house. I mean, you actually have a whole.
Yes. In fact, here, want me to take you outside?
Sure. This is new for Novelists Unwind. We've never done that. Cool.
Usually my dog's around, so she's not. So now can you see my video?
Yes.
And then I'll show you my yard.
Pretty.
And here's my fish pond.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh, I love that. Oh, no wonder you can write so much with all that. Wow.
Well, I like to create in a lot of different ways. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that is so fun. Thank you for that. That's really cool. Now we gotta try to step back up.
Yeah, the little tour.
Get rid of the light, right?
I know, trying to get out of the light. Maybe I'll just. No, it doesn't work.
Oh, good. Well,
yeah, I love light and I love windows. Yeah, so
I like to be by the window. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, let's talk. about your mini farm. I saw something about your little mini farm on your website too. So I don't know where you are in that process. Are you still working on a farm? Putting a farm together?
Well, yeah, we call it our mini ranch because we
Okay.
live on Ranch Avenue, and we downsized to a half an acre in town because I really wanted to be in town.
Oh, uh-huh.
I just, I, writing is sort of a isolated life, and being far enough from town that it was easy not to go to town was kind of becoming a problem in my old age. And so we now live in town in our little ranchette. I'm going to try to move to get that light away. Um, and we've discovered that half an acre is still quite a bit to take care of. So we started putting in raised bed gardens, and then we were going to plant fruit trees, and we were talking about getting chickens and everything. And then we just decided that's just too much.
You're not doing that after all.
We're running out of energy. And so what now I decided to do is we're going to split this lot in half.
Oh, wow.
We had built a barn that has 2 studios above it, and then a big book storage room, and so we're going to keep that, and on the other half of our property build a low maintenance house and not have the all those chickens and everything that I was talking about, because we want to be able to go and travel and do more. And
sure.
yeah, current plan.
I've raised chickens, and I will tell you that never again.
I know I have some friends that say that, and some that just love it. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like we've been so busy the last 4 years since we downsized that we need to downsize a lot more.
Oh, I love it. I love that you have this writing studio that's just like your own little place, and all the books and all of that. Do you have copies of every single book you've written? You kept a collection?
I actually don't.
Don't you?
Yeah, every once in a while I'll look for something and it's not there, and I don't know if somebody borrowed it or just walked away, but I need to go on Amazon and try to see if I can fill in missing blanks. It's like the old woman in the shoe. She had too many children, and some of them out the door.
Oh my goodness, that's so great. That's so great. Well, any other Christmas stories beyond this one? We know you're working on the historical series, which we'll go ahead and mention. I mean, I wrote it down. It's the Legacy of Sunset Cove series, and the first book is yes.
Actually, it's not. It's just the first one released of that. So the other, I'm working on book 3 right now. But the series that's fully out is the Mulligan Sisters.
Right.
And that's World War II. And I loved that series. And then my readers actually really did too, because it features these women in the same family, 4 sisters who are all doing different things. One's a nurse in the Army, and one's, just different, and just their support of the war effort. And just, that's kind of it's a fun series. But the new one is
dear to my heart too. So yeah, I get that. Okay. So then this one is the 1900s, early 1900s series.
Yes. Yeah. And the first one did just come out.
Oh, it did. Okay.
And it's a little different in that it has a little bit, it's suspenseful. It's set on the Oregon coast, and they're dealing with prohibition and women who've got the vote, because Oregon was one of the first states for women to get the vote, and also one of the first states to have prohibition, which came with its own huge set of problems. But that's been really fun to research.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so that one, and you're working on the 3rd book of that. But most of all, we want to encourage people to get a copy of A Christmas by the Sea, which releases sometime in September, early September, right?
Yes, early September. There it is.
There it is. It's so pretty, such a beautiful cover. And one thing that I took off the website, that you like to write the Christmas stories so that people can welcome, I think this is so cool, welcome holiday challenges with creativity and hope, because sometimes holidays can be hard.
Exactly. So I never just write a happy Christmas book, because life is got ups and downs, and I just feel like at Christmas time, can be more up and more down. And I like to, end it on happy and hopeful, but we have to work to get there sometimes.
That's very well said. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Well, Melody, thank you so much for being with me and showing us around your studio and outside. That was such a treat. And one last question: when you are done writing, how do you unwind?
Oh, we live in a beautiful place. I'm very, very thankful for that. And we live in this small tourist town that is just where we live now. We can just walk to town. And my husband and I sometimes will do that, or I'll take my dog out, or sometimes I'll just sit out and look at my fish.
That's cool.
We're also hoping when we get some of our projects done here to take our motorhome out and go out and traveling. And we do our kayaking too.
Yeah.
You need to try it. It's really fun.
My son has said he's kayaked before, so I'll have to tell him now that I want to do that too. So maybe we can go out and
do it on calm water. Don't try to do the rivers.
Okay.
Just a lake, and yeah.
Okay, calm water.
Calm water. I wouldn't do moving water. I'm not that adventuresome anymore.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Well, again, thank you, and thank you all for watching. Join us again next time for Novelists Unwind. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks.